So I'm Charlie.
I'm Danielle.
This is a LARP Larks.
LARP
Larks. And we're here with more wins today.
Who more wins? Dos.
And one of them covers like so many different nations, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool on that front. Like, it's definitely worth watching. Definitely worth like reading that one because
It's definitely worth watching us.
Please. But it's definitely worth watching because it does cover a lot of nations. Some things are kind of like you could probably go to even if you're not in that nation.
Yeah.
Lots of NPCs coming and interacting. So important people who aren't player characters, who might have a lot of influence, or just interesting game to bring.
For sure. I'll be honest. Last event, E1.
Yeah.
This particular wind, because I remember there was a very similar wind and it had like all that stuff in like that. Basically, it's like lots of little winds. I ignored it. I didn't read it. I got a bit overwhelmed. By that point, I think we'd read a lot of winds.
I think that was like literally one of the last ones.
It was one of the last ones, and then there was a server problem. Yeah. So we lost access to it, and then we got access, and I was just like, I can't be bothered to read this. It just seems like a lot of small things going on.
Yeah.
And now I have read it. Now I've read this one.
I've got some, but wool in my mouth. There's so much game. There's so much game available in this one. It's really worth reading. I wish we
paid attention. Who knows what was in the last one?
But yeah, it's probably like literally the one, maybe two, because there were the server issues. We literally like read the whole other thing. Otherwise, maybe I would have like scanned some of this. But the equivalent one, but
it was missed last time for sure. But this time, loads of cool stuff. And then the second wind we've got is not to be ignored. This one we actually referenced something we read in the previous wind, which is about the Deadwood Knight. The Schlachterrot.
Yeah, the same creature thing. But sort of this undead knight kind of figure that's going around marauding and collecting an undead army.
People. I got the impression that no one did anything about this. Now, if you did do something about this, sorry. But I got the impression that from where this Deadwood Knight was at the previous event, he's only got more powerful. Yeah. So I get the impression that no one really did anything about it. And it reminds me of like the Dry Patricians, where it has to get bad enough for someone to do something about it.
People of the Empire really don't think that the undead are a problem. Doesn't matter if they're Dry Patricians or if they're like these like woodland knight type things. But people really are like, zombies, who cares? They're not cool anymore, so...
If you think a problem is too small to deal with, it's your problem.
You just wait.
You need to deal with it right now. Anyway, we're not going to deal with that.
It's not our problem, it's like Varushka and Dwarf's problem, so don't worry about that.
We won't want to step on their game.
No. We won't want to do that. But Their problem, but definitely one to deal with.
Yeah, they should be dealing with it.
We don't need more on our hands.
More lost territory or anything like that.
Or just a huge undead army just rolling on through.
Yeah, that would suck.
Right. So I guess we could get into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this. We have kept any. There's no like proper yellow text for this one, which is like sort of narrative text.
No role play, no funny voices.
There is in the
Serious
next one.
business only.
Serious business only. But yeah, this seems to be like a whole bunch of things. This is about people coming to the Empire, people leaving the Empire. These are people from usually from outside of the Empire. Yeah. That is the main thing. So whether they are like Eternals or something like that, or just like people from foreign countries that maybe we don't like, we're not at war with. They're just another country.
I got the impression that it was anything small enough not to warrant its own wind, but big enough that we shouldn't be ignoring it, basically.
Yeah, and also like almost like dropping kernels of story throughout the game
I think,
for people to engage with.
Yeah, kind of like salt baying plot across the land, and then seeing who picks up that tasty seasoned earth.
Yeah,
salted earth. That's not good. That's not good.
That's
not a good thing.
People seem to love it in Madrid. No, they don't.
No,
they don't love it in Madrid.
They don't love it in Madrid.
The dry patricians love it.
No, they hate it as well.
Oh no, they also want it to be wet.
They want to keep leaving as they can have more moisture.
Okay, it was a bad metaphor. Okay,
it was a bad metaphor. Sometimes you just got to write them off.
Sometimes you just gotta. They're not savable. Okay, so we've got this opening. The overview is basically like Anvil is where we all gather to gather.
Yes, it's the
and it draws not just people from the Empire, but other people and interesting
Anvil folk. Is the gathering of the most important people in the Empire. So surely with the most important people of the Empire in Anvil, other people will be interested in going.
Yep. And the first we've got, I quite like this. This is sort of something continuing on from the last summit. So there is a Suak astronomancer. Suak is one of the Wintermark kind of not nations, regions. There we go. Like so there is a specific astronomancer even, and they would be an NPC, I presume. And they went along last summit to say we want to get more knowledge sharing when it comes to astronomancy.
We want to collab.
Let's make it happen. And this very kind of like academic event has popped up.
Yeah.
So at 10 a.m. on Sunday, there's going to be a symposium on like astronomancy, and whatever that involves. It's a swapping of ideas and it's exchanging of things, and that just seems like it would be really cool.
Yeah, very neat.
Really nice way to start your Sunday. If that's more of your game and you're not necessarily going to be fighting or anything like that. It's in the Imperial Senate building.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It kind of mentions that this could be the first of an annual event. This could be the first of a seasonal event.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on the appetite and what the content of the discussions are. But it feels like an opening of a door for people, players, characters interested in astronomical roleplay.
Yeah, astronomantic. I don't know.
Astronomantical, exactly.
Exactly.
Astromaniacal. Astromantical.
Yeah. But yeah, this seems interesting. It's going to bring together quite a few different people.
I imagine it's going to bring a lot of Irezenian.
Yeah, which is going to be cool as well, and like connecting them with the Suak and things like that. Like there's lots of different people to come together. It could be a really nice meeting.
If you do any stargazing, if you're interested in the heavens in any way, as it were.
Yeah, in a sort of magical sort of way. And
worth going along to this event, finding out what it's about.
Even
maybe even paving the stones as to what it's about, deciding the future.
Yeah, you could be the decider. You could be someone who's curious and just basically wants to listen into these, like, I guess, like, almost like academic discussions on these things, and might even be a place to make things happen and meet the right people to collab with. Apparently, that's the word I'm saying now. So, I guess moving on. Yeah. This is going to be
This is going to be just like, and that's that, and then we move on to literally the next thing. Yeah,
because the Wreck of the Virtuous.
And I found this one particularly interesting.
Yeah. Yes. So there is, it's quite cool. It somewhat connects with Sarvos, but it doesn't. It's more of a High Guard thing. So there was a passenger ship named the Virtuous that was
excellent ship name.
And it was leaving from Sarvos, and it was going to go to Sanctuary Sands, which I'm actually going to look up because I wasn't too sure of it's in Casanea. Okay, yeah. So it was intended to go to somewhere in Casanea.
Is that Highborn, Casanea?
Yes, is where Anvil. Casanea. Yeah, so that is actually where Anvil is.
Oh, okay.
So we all definitely know where Casanea is. But Sarvos to Sanctuary Sands. And it was shipwrecked. It went down somewhere off the coast of Necropolis. So it did not make it to its destination. It came close because of the magical storms that were happening, that were mentioned in the winds we read yesterday.
Yeah, and we actually, I've just realised what's relevant here is the League knew that these storms were going to happen.
Yeah.
So we released, the priests of the League released a statement, a principle that said, everyone be careful.
Yeah.
And that passed, and thanks to that, there was very minimal casualties in Sarvos. But as stated here, ignoring the warning of the League bishops, certain people didn't pay attention to that.
And they went on to this journey from Sarvos and ended up dead, basically.
They're dead. They're all dead. They're like 100% dead.
100% dead. And we are League bishops, should mention. And so that it kind of connects it to us and makes us think, oh, were we one of those? Would we have known people who warned them? Would we have wished that we could have warned them?
I feel like it definitely would have been warnings we would have given to people, you know?
Yeah.
And
if we came across them.
And if we heard that someone was like going to ignore that as well. Yeah.
And so they were going... they were highborn. Is it the Making Journey? No. So the highborn stewards of the dead, sorry. A chapter named Gideon's Vigil.
Sure.
Gideon's Vigil. They are turning up because they want to. Oh, one of their numbers survived the wreck. Oh,
yes. So this is what links it all back.
We have one survivor out of this group.
Yeah. So one survivor, who happens to be a member of the Stewards of the Dead, subsect Gideon's Vigil. They survived, and that person is haunted. That is why it is their problem.
That's very haunted.
Yeah, because the souls of the people who have died have become ghosts of some description, and they are haunting this survivor, which is probably pretty terrifying. Yeah. And I believe
it's a lot of voices.
That something like exorcism or anything else is not available. Yeah. Because all of the bodies are in the sea. Yeah, their anchors are at the bottom. And and this is the exciting bit, they have proposed the very unique solution that in order to help these spirits find peace, they must be given a corporeal form to inhabit for a short period of time, really get whatever anger is inside them out. Whatever they need to do, whatever business they gotta do. Exactly, get it done. And the proposal is that any brave individuals can volunteer their corporeal form to be inhabited by a ghost with myriad effects. Yes. So, possession. Basically, you got to go along, and if it says they'll be around in Anvil around 5 in the afternoon on Saturday, starting at the chapel in the Highborn camp, and anyone who is like happy to bear the burden of their soul will bear the burden of their soul. Yeah, pretty much. And will do. It says, and will do so only until its essential drive has been satisfied, or by sunrise the following day. Yeah. So these could be anything. And the out of character information is this could be a short curse card. But and they can answer questions about the role for the play effect. Yeah. But it sounds like they're probably quite variable between players. I'm on the out of character note. To me, it feels like the focus is enjoying this. Yeah. This is a fun thing. Because basically, you get given a curse card, and you can choose, if it's no longer fun for you to be cursed, you can be like, it's fine, it moves on. You can kind of like do with it. It is up to each person how far they want to lean into the curse, the possession. Yeah. And ultimately, that's kind of it. Yeah. It's just an exciting opportunity to be possessed for a bit. Then be possessed in a safe environment. So that if later in life you get possessed for real, you know what to expect. Like if you've ever been tempted to take a curse, just to see what it's like. Yeah. This is probably the time to do it. Hand out curses left, right, and centre. And speaking of curses,
we're on to some serious sausage business.
Now, this sausage business has now become serious.
It is serious now, and I will share that last summit we were at breakfast with some people, and someone came in and turned what looked quite like a couple of croissants into some cursed sausages.
Some very cursed looking sausages.
They did look very cursed.
Yes.
They looked a little dodgy to me.
We were assured that they were perfectly normal.
Normal sausages.
Perfectly innocent sausages.
Yep.
Not convinced.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like they would do some serious harm, potentially.
Potentially.
And that begs the question, who's cursing all these sausages?
What's going on? Where's the quality standard of the sausages when we are meant to, in, at least in Temeshwar, I guess, or in Holberg? Holberg?
Yeah, I think it is Temeshwar, because I'm going to look up...
In the league.
In the league, so no, it's Temeshwar.
That's the guy that has to come. But it says butchers in...
the Bloody Great Sausage is Holberg, yeah.
Holberg, yeah, it's Holberg. So we've got...
There is someone. The custodian of the Bloody Great Sausage, who is in charge...
Oh, no, they are not. So, okay.
No,
I'm gonna dial back a little bit.
Yeah.
So...
I'm ready to dial back up.
Yeah. So, Anthony DeWart von Temeshwar is this guy coming in.
Sure.
And he's like, I hear there are problems with low quality and even cursed sausages.
Perish of thoughts.
And this is not going to do for Holberg's reputation.
They are supposed to be
the greatest city in the world. And Anthony DeWart von Temeshwar wants to investigate this, and he's very interested in speaking to the custodian of the Bloody Great Sausage.
And that is where I'm saying it is their responsibility to quality control these sausages as the custodian of the Bloody Great Sausage.
Yes.
How are they letting these cursed sausages slip through? This is some serious sausage business.
Serious sausage business. And, even more serious, we don't actually know who the custodian of the Bloody Great Sausage is.
Oh, it's a mystery, is it?
Yeah.
Is it not?
I think that's what I thought you were thinking Anthony DeWart was the custodian, but he's not.
So, it's been years since
It's been years
since this title is vacant.
It's vacant.
So
we don't know who it's going to be.
That's why so many bloody cursed sausages are slipping through.
Yeah, we gotta look into this. And so there's going to be a meeting held in the hub at 7:30 p.m. and anyone who has interest in the sausage business, people who deal with pigs, farming, butchering, anything like that.
Any sausage-related business.
Any sausage-related
Any extruding. That's an element. That's important.
Any of those businesses.
Got mincing. That happens.
Yeah,
grinding,
I guess that's kind of this butchering.
It all comes under
sense.
butchering, sure.
But yeah, I think any kind of sausage-related business, sausage-related interests, we should definitely go and speak to this Mr. DeWart fellow.
And the seriousness of the matter is not to be understated.
Exactly. And so there'll be a meeting there, and we'll, get this sorted out. Finally understand who this custodian is. And hold them to accountability, to be honest.
And if there is no one, we'll put someone in charge, gosh darn it.
We will. So, serious issue anyway.
That's probably about as serious as it gets.
About serious. Anyway, onto the Black Plateau. So the Faceless Echo. So this is okay. So what we're going to have is a doctor, Aiden de Spiral, is
formerly de Holberg, so has moved to. Spiral, new territory.
Makes sense. And so he originally, he has been very respected in his field, and he's been doing a lot in Spiral for treating the people who are crossing the Black Plateau to get to Spiral. Yeah. The Black Plateau is this terrible, vast kind of desert expanse of obsidian. It's I feel like it's a black glass desert. And you have to pass through it to get to Spiral, I guess, unless you went by sea or something. But there's not too many good ways of getting to Spiral. And across the Black Plateau, you experience terrible things, terrible dreams, like sleepless kind of nights.
Yeah.
You like it. There's like a terrible like aura on the place, and it's too vast to really like control. And so he's been treating lots of people coming from there, but
I think they've been treating lots of people. I can't see.
They?
I think the doctor is a they. Yeah, it always seems to be a they.
Okay, cool.
As I was quickly scanning, I was like, but anyway.
Okay, they then. So the doctor has been treating a lot of people, and there was a patient found on the road near Apulian.
Yes. So outside of the Black Plateau.
Yeah. This is in Spiral. So this is like after the Black Plateau. Mm-hmm. They're confused. They're wondering who they are. And this has kind of happened before.
Yeah.
But it's treatable. But with this person, it doesn't seem to be treatable. And this person looks like a League citizen.
Yeah.
But no one can identify them either. Not even the egregore.
Yes.
Which is very important, I think, information.
Yeah, the egregore seems to be able to confirm that they are League. But otherwise, that's it. They're a mystery.
Yeah. So the doctor's going to come in at a certain time, around 2 p.m. on Saturday, and is asking not to be too accosted because we don't upset the patient.
Yes, it says that the patient is distressed and confused easily.
Yes.
So if everyone swamps this person, it's bad news. And
so we've got... they're going to come in, and the way you can interact is if you are a doctor as your character or a student of magical maladies and problems, you can roleplay that you have spoken to this doctor in the past when they were back in Hallberg or something.
You might have like a professional link to them somehow.
And so all you have to do is enter with a phrase like, "Oh, we've written before. If you can remember, you might not remember me, but we did exchange a couple of letters," and then that's your way in to sort of seamlessly go into this interesting little...
because it is a bit of a mystery.
Yes.
There is an effect, a negative magical effect causing this individual, supposedly causing this individual to lose their memory. It might not even be an individual. It might,
like a spy or something.
Might be something else entirely.
Oh, maybe.
Might not be, as you say, like a magical malady. It might just be an act.
Or a bit of both. Like part of me's like, what if they dressed up a spy, put them into the Black Plateau, and they just responded really badly?
Yeah, it could be anything. And the idea is that if you're interested in solving a bit of a medical puzzle, I guess.
Yeah, medical.
If you're interested in the Black Plateau and the effects that region has on people.
Yeah.
Or if you just want to speak to this doctor and be like, remember that time we exchanged? Why didn't you write back?
Why didn't you write back?
But I think that's a cool, interesting little puzzle that you can follow up on.
Yeah, sounds pretty cool to me. Visitors from Ossium is the next one.
Yeah,
we had to get our heads around this one a little bit, but I think it is interesting. It's about the Ketsov, who are a human family from Ossium.
Yes. So I read this, and I think it does put a lot of explanation before the point. But actually, having read it, I'm like, you need the explanation, or else the point won't make any sense. So the idea is that there is this family, a human family, from Ossium, became part of Varushka when territory was taken by the Druj. I think they are very prosperous. They've established themselves very well, and they've become quite a robust household.
Yes.
They are somewhat at odds with the Malam Orcs.
Yes.
The Malam Orcs are former slaves. I think they used to be enslaved by the Druj.
Yeah.
And in order to help the Ketsov family become more prosperous, they cut certain deals with the Druj that allowed them to not suffer as harshly. So, Ketsov family, powerful, prosperous, wealthy family, now in Varushka. Malam Orcs don't like them because they allied with slave owners. Just
to save their own back.
For the full background as well. The Ketsov family also rebut that Varushka have a very long tradition of making deals with the devil, effectively, and they say that the Druze are no different. You can make deals with any evil force, so long as it benefits you. So a bit of a clash of cultures there.
Mm-hmm.
So that background is what it leads with. The interesting thing is that the Quetzal family are coming to Anvil, or representatives or emissaries of the Quetzal family.
Yeah, but they're coming to Anvil in 2 separate groups.
Yes.
And they are travelling separately.
Yeah.
And I don't seem to be aware of the others travelling.
Yeah, so it seems like the Quetzal family somehow have sent 2 groups,
Yeah.
but neither of which know about each
And
other.
neither are meeting on the way as well,
And
which
they will
is
both
interesting.
just wander into Anvil when the summit happens.
And the odd thing is that when people are meeting, like it says, okay, I'll read this word for word. About half of those who have mentioned meeting one of the groups on the road have spoken of a particular disquiet they feel when speaking with them. Nothing they can put into words, just something about them that put them on edge and cause the small hairs on the back of their neck to rise.
Yeah. And then, so when I read this, I was like, something dodgy is up with one of them. That's about as far as I got.
Yeah.
And then I think you kind of cracked what was at the core of this one.
Maybe. Just thinking of the context of Varushka, I'm wondering if it's something to do with, because they have like monsters or maybe like shapeshiftery things. I'm not sure. They have all sorts of things.
They have all sorts of things.
And their custom is of like hospitality. So I'm wondering when both of these sets of groups arrive, whether either of them, both of them, will try and refuse hospitality somehow and try and undercut that, and that will make them very, very suspicious.
Yeah.
So I'm very,
I think that's what it is. So when they're like, about half of the reports are that they're a bit weird, they're kind of, I think what's kind of being implied is that some of them are shapeshifters, or maybe, and the other half of them are real, and it's up to Varushka to figure out which one's which.
There might be a sort of no you kind of
the
situation.
Spider-Man,
Yeah, a little Spider-Man
Spider-Man
thing. Yeah. So that would be interesting. Oh, and that says they'll arrive around 8:45 p.m. on Saturday.
Just when it's getting dark.
It's getting dark. So the next we have is the guided path,
which is a conjunction. So it will be at the Sentinel Gate and you will walk through it and go somewhere.
And this is about the outcome of the research at the Great Library of Hessinian in Navarre, which is a huge thing about the Valorn. I don't know if we can necessarily go into all of that history.
It's interesting because it came up so heavy in E1. It was one of the huge announcements that the Navarre have figured out a way to destroy the Valorn, which I don't really want to go into too much detail, to be honest, but the Valorn are the antithesis to the Navarre. They are again locked in eternal combat for like 1,000 years or something.
Yeah, a very long time.
And their solution was created to kill them forever. There's not really been anything new about it, probably because they're plugging away at the solution that they found.
Probably trying to make it happen.
But I think one of the things that came up last event, and it seems to be being played on here, is and I view this question as a little bit wild, but it's the question of, if you're not fighting the Valorn anymore, then what is your culture? And I'm like, this is a bit of an intense question. I think the Navarre have plenty of culture and drive and ambition outside of just their fight with the Valorn. But this particular conjunction, I don't know who's called it. Does it say?
There was a group of the Burning Vine, a sect of priests dedicated to ambition based in Miarin, called the Burning Vine, are interested in discussing this with the guides from across the nation.
Yes, so guides, I've looked up, are priests in Navarre. They're specifically interested in ambition priests in Navarre.
Yes.
Basically, this section with the virtue of ambition at its core, they want to understand what will drive the Navarre, what will be their burning flame of ambition without the Valorn. I am sure they will have some good arguments and good things to say. I've already heard some of them in character last event.
I think it's interesting because we consider the culture of the Trods with the Navarre, and that's a huge thing, huge part of their culture, and that's all about the Valorn.
Yeah.
That's a way to potentially get rid of them in certain uses of it. And so there are like lots of things that are very central to their culture that they're like maybe need to adapt and see.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because it's something I only learned recently is that the Navarre walk the Trods to keep the Valorn at bay.
You literally used to be in Navarre.
We don't know where the dark times. And I think it was you're right, one of the options was keep on walking the Trods for years and years and years.
Yeah, there's like certain methods of doing it.
Another 1,000 years and then eventually they'll go away.
Yeah.
But, what happens when you don't have to do that anymore? Do you settle? Do the Navarre stop walking the Trods? I think actually that is a good question. I've kind of forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of these big parts. And so this is about a calling a sort of conjunction. It says that the threat posed by the cold sun has made it too risky for them to attempt the trip to Anvil, which is interesting.
I felt so.
Yeah.
We haven't read The Winds of War. We're all about Winds of Fortune. Before the Winds of Fortune started to come out, there were a lot of Winds of War about the cold sun.
There were lots.
So I imagine there's something in there that we've not read.
That somewhat like physically block them from getting through or make it harder to...
Because as we've just learned, Cassinia, as we knew all along, Cassinia is where Anvil is.
Yep.
So if Cassinia is under threat by the cold sun, which we would have known about if we had read The Winds of War, that'll be why they can't go there.
Yeah.
But who cares about that? Because conjunctions are way cooler.
Way cooler.
Getting to go through the Sentinel Gate and ending up in a location, super cool.
Yes. So no more than 8 people can now travel to the Old Green Fort in Goldglades, Maren.
Yes.
This takes place at 6:35 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah.
So really early in the event.
35 minutes after time in.
Yeah. So that really means like that is starting the event, and I almost wonder whether the result of this could even influence like the battles or something in the days across the weekend, because it's so early.
It is early enough that if the discussions about I don't know if it will. I don't know what the major conjunctions are about because we don't follow the war stuff, but it is so early that it can affect major decisions if some sort of driving ambition was discussed here.
Yes.
And I think the final thing is they don't expect the question to be solved. It is just a discussion. I think it's a great discussion to be having.
Yeah, and it looks like Anira Exile's End is the person who will be arranging this group.
Yeah.
And so they will be the person to go and speak to and make it happen.
If you're an ambition guide / priest in Navarre, you should be going along to this.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting and a great way to like have that instant influence amongst like potentially across the whole weekend.
And if you're shy of ambition priests to go, I'll go. Oh, you're preaching prosperity this summit.
I'm still an ambition priest.
We'll go instead. But it is a Navarre matter most likely. It is a Navarre matter. So never going to say no to walking through the Sentinel Smoke.
So next we have Morwenna and the Globosnotch.
The Globosnotch is Sodogua. It's one of those million names sorts of things.
So Sodogua came up last, like in the last wins for the last summit, where he was asked to come and like parlay at Anvil.
Yes.
He's a regular visitor, and this time was like, I don't wanna. Because
I don't know what kicks dirt on the floor.
Yeah,
rubbish.
Because Varushka stole some of my land, and now I'm upset. And now I think that you need to give me a couple of things to help me feel a bit better. And one of those things might be that I would like to be an exemplar of prosperity. And also, here are some very generous deals I'm like putting forward as well as part of that. So he put forward some very like cool like deals potentially as well from that. One of them that was taken where they've taken a Reggio in Lycium. We don't even own these islands yet, but there's a Reggio there that he's almost like got for us. We've got it.
So I do remember this actually.
Yes.
He was annoyed. He was kicking sand. He was like, "This is rubbish." And he said, "You can do one of three things. It won't fix the problem that Varushka have stolen this land from me, but it'll make me feel a little better." One was making him an exemplar of prosperity. One was giving him the Lyceum to change into a night college. And we had to go capture it at like a grand conjunction.
Yes.
And the third was to give him some like Varushkan land or something like. I think it doesn't matter. We didn't do that.
Anyway,
we did the Lyceum one.
We did the Lyceum one, and it sounds cool. And we might be looking into the other one because there is going to be an Inquisition from Morwenna Withered Rose, who is the Virtue Inquisitor of the Assembly of the Way.
Yes.
So this would have been decided last time.
Yeah, so I actually want to make a specific point of saying Morwenna, what a fantastically worded Inquisition of Sodogua. I actually really love it. The idea that Sodogua would be like, I think I'm worthy of being an exemplar of prosperity, and instead of meeting that with, yes, you can be an exemplar, or no, that's a ridiculous ask, Morwenna has actually called Sodogua to Inquisition to determine whether or not he's actually worthy. Yeah. Which I think is great.
Because Inquisition doesn't have to be a negative thing. You can actually find someone who could be rewarded, who is like very worthy.
For example.
Exemplarship, maybe. So yeah, I'll read. Shall I read out the?
The wording of the Inquisition. Yeah.
So, virtue transcends soul and spirit, and in light of recent changes to doctrine, it is worth testing this idea to its very limits. As such, the Inquisitor of the Way calls the eternal Sodogua to Inquisition, to assess its virtue and evaluate its claim to exemplardom. The Inquisition will be at the spring equinox, and the Inquisiting priest will be Morwenna with assistance from fellow members of the Sevenfold Path.
One thing I didn't pick up when I read that the first time is it referenced recent changes to doctrine.
Yes.
Which is the inclusion that orcs can be virtuous.
Basically, because there was a specific human doctrine that was in place before, where it was like ultimately humans are like the only ones that can be virtuous.
Humans can only be truly virtuous because we're the only ones that reincarnate, and orcs don't. And there was a change of doctrine that said actually, despite the fact that they don't reincarnate, they are still factored into the religion in some way, but it wasn't specific to orcs. It was a wide change to doctrine. So Morwenna referencing this in their Inquisition means that we're saying, can an eternal be virtuous? How wide is this change of doctrine? I think it was a great Inquisition.
It's really interesting. I'd love to see this Inquisition because it's being held at the Hall of Worlds at 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon.
Sodogua will be there.
Yep, he'll be there for his Inquisition.
The Eternal will be there.
Which is very cool, and it sounds like a really interesting philosophical kind of debate. I'd love to see it. He also kind of responds to this by talking about like the what was it? The problem with the theft of the Whistling Strand, which is what Varushka stole from them, and apparently this group of people that did it,
Varushkan mages,
Varushkan mages, have now been called sorcerers, which means that they can no longer legally practice magic within the Empire. And he's like,
if the punishment is death if you practice magic as a sorcerer.
So he's like, I don't really like that. That kind of sucks.
He's like, you guys are bad magicians for stopping them from using magic.
With, like, bureaucracy.
Yeah, you guys should just, like, wizard duel it out or something.
Yeah, you curse the guy, turn him into a tree, do something cool.
That's literally what he says.
Literally do something cool, yeah.
So but he doesn't really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
He's kind of just like, he's got that boomer attitude of just like, I'm going to give some advice, not that you've asked for it.
Yeah. And then, like, he also wants to speak to the Archmage of Night, and talk about what's going to happen with the Lyceum, like, if and when it gets taken by the Empire.
I think the idea, fact checked me on this, but I think the Lyceum was captured.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a major
that makes sense.
A major, what's it called? Convection, whatever. Conjunction. It was a major conjunction that we went forward with and succeeded with.
Mm-hmm.
Conclave made a declaration endowing Sir Dogua with custody of the Lyceum, and basically the Herald says, you're not going to recognise the place when you see it next.
Beautiful. It's going to be absolutely, There's
going to be tapestries of stars and moons everywhere. It does say that, to discuss the logistics of it. So I don't really know whether Sir Dogua has actually done anything to the Lyceum yet. Obviously there is an intention to, but it'd be good to unlock some of the... Because it's a bit of a mystery box. You don't know what you're going to get when you get the Lyceum back under Sir Dogua's control.
Yeah, and here's the Conclave declaration here as well.
Right.
From Bryn Vision Enduring, Bursar of the Conclave, Declaration of Endowment, Conclave endows the Lyceum to Sir Dogua. Conclave is aware that this is not legally binding and requires Senate motion, but would like the Senate to be aware of the Conclave's opinion on the potential ceding of the Lyceum to the Brother of Wizards.
Oh.
So the logistics makes it sound like this needs to go to Senate, right?
Yes, that's actually more that's actually more of an issue than I first realised, because it's not actually been done yet.
Because it is not their jurisdiction.
Yeah. I don't think Sir Dogua will care about that.
No.
I think Sir Dogua will say, why can't you use magic?
It sounds like he's already there.
Yeah.
He set up camp.
But that sounds like an administrative problem to be solved by the Archmage of Night.
Yeah. I think it's a very Knight attitude to be like, ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll see what happens with the Lyceum, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing is that there will be an Eternal being inquisited in the Hall of Worlds.
It's very cool.
It's very cool.
I want to see that.
Yeah. Even if it's just to like see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
See an Eternal.
Yes.
So I've not seen an Eternal in character yet.
Yeah. I'm also glad that I took that like one level of like magician, so I can just easily get into the Hall of Worlds. So
I can't get in so easily.
I think
Oh, you can let me in. Okay, I'll hold hands.
Maybe?
You can pull me into the Hall of Worlds.
Yeah, we'll hold hands. Just that one time.
Just like one time. In character one time.
So we've got this other one called Rebels.
Yes.
So it's about the Spiral Rebels.
Yeah.
So the Urizeni rebels who are still in Spiral.
Yeah. So, God, if I can remember how this works, there were 3 rebel factions within Urizen. They were... I'm trying to remember. It's to do with the Apulian Orcs, basically.
They're from Ankara and Sinian. That's the 2 ones that I've heard of. And so one of them... one of these, regions of rebels kind of, like, ducked out. They kind of came out of their rebel zone.
So there were a bunch of kind of pockets of rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
They basically got quelled, apart from one of them. Mm-hmm. One of them, I think it was to do with the Apulian Orcs effectively taking the territory and then defecting to the League.
It also about the territory being given to the League instead of being given to Urizen.
And this one pocket of rebellion that remained was basically had the attitude, give the territory back or we will continue to be rebels. Mm-hmm. So the position was irreconcilable.
Yeah.
The territory, the Apulian Orcs, the League, Urizen, no one was going to agree to revert the territory to how it was, so they remained as rebels. Mm-hmm. But, in a peculiar twist of fate, they have begun efforts to maybe cede that position. We don't know.
I don't know about that one.
That's a bit strong.
Yeah, that's an opinion.
That is an opinion.
The information we've got here is a week before the Summit Anvil.
Right
they
now.
kind of suggest they're going to come along. They start making their way, and so it's quite last minute, and they say that they want to go and speak to the Urizeni camp, and they're going to arrive at 11 p.m. on Saturday. And
it says they're going to stay for as little time as possible. They're going to do their business and leave.
So they have very specific business to do. Legally, the rebels are considered foreigners unless the Senate do anything to change that in the meantime. But what they're there to do, I'm like, are they there to spread those seeds of rebellion?
It's strange because you don't know what they're there to do. You're right. In my opinion, I feel like they're going to come with terms and they're going to do these things, but that could be wildly wrong. They could be there to say spread the seeds of rebellion. They could be there to do something else. But this is the first, I guess, piece of action we've had from this pocket of rebellion, other than go away.
Yeah, we haven't actually had them in Anvil in this way.
We haven't had any productive communication from them other than give us back the territory, which is never going to happen. And being hidden by magic. So really interesting to see how this will turn out. Well, one way or the other, the Horizon will figure out the rebels' position. They're sort of going to give away their position, be it conciliatory or continue to rebel. They're going to figure out what they're all about. I think the idea of this charismatic leader that hasn't given up so far, I don't know if I see it. No. I don't know if I see it going well. I think they're going to be come over to our side, come to the dark side. Be our spies. Honestly, a charismatic leader. I know, I'm into it. I'll follow a charismatic leader. You'll follow them? I'm a rebel now. I'm a rebel for a different nation now. I think it's going to be so interesting. And also looking at this, very interesting to think of it from the magistrate's perspective. Anyone sort of under any kind of legal thing, people could be putting stuff in place, or people could be hanging around the Urizen camp to be what is this? What's going on? We need to know what their stance is when they're talking to their own people. Yeah, because they're a foreign body. If they're sowing the seeds of anarchy and unrest, that could lead to motions that make them enemies of the Empire. And this last one, finally a departure. So I spent time digging into this one with you, didn't I? Because it's very interesting. I actually, once we'd finished digging into it, I love this one actually. I really do. Yeah. So there is an Aksu scholar. So where is Aksu? What's the Axos. There we go. Axos. They're from Axos. Yes. So an Aksu from Axos. Aksu if you're from Axos. Yes. So a scholar who has tried to be there for wanted to be in Anvil for a year basically, and is in a place just outside. And has been sort of studying us, I guess. Yeah, spend a year in Anvil, see what it's like. You're on an exchange. Yeah. This is a very common academic thing where they'll go off somewhere else, spend a year there or whatever, come back and put that into their studies. This is Theodosia of Ipatavo, and arrived in autumn last year, and was supposed to leave after summer. Yes. Had the Shield of Vigilance with her, which is very cool and very important, because it seems that she was going to stay for a year, but just after the winter solstice, she's left. She suddenly left, and she seemed to leave about a day before the storms started hitting the coast. That's kind of sus. And then there are some existing letters, but there's no address left for her and things like that. It's not consistent, really. Yeah. She leaves a trail, which is look, if you want to carry on writing to me, write to me, but leaves no forwarding address. Yes. Leaves very quickly. Leaves ahead of schedule. Leaves no one knows she's going, and now she's gone. Yeah, and she left a vague note saying she felt she had neglected vigilance in the name of understanding. Yes. And apparently it was something in the inaugural address of the Emperor. Yes. That unsettled her. It says that the address made her nervous, spooked her. Yeah. And then we dug into it. Yes. We dug into the address. we dug into the phrase neglected vigilance in the name of understanding, and I think you came up with kind of a conclusion, and I was like, yes, I understand this now.
Yeah, so you reread the address.
Yeah, I reread the address.
There's stuff about unity within the Empire, and part of that is making sure that our religion is known as the one religion and the one right way.
Yeah.
That we should spread this far and wide. And what we need to know about the Aksu people is their religion is almost like diametrically opposite to the way.
They've taken the kind of, I guess, critical facts of life, reincarnation and the labyrinth, and they have interpreted it in entirely the opposite way. Going through the labyrinth is a curse. It's a bad thing.
It's a terrible thing. It's like hell.
It strips you of the skills you've acquired and reduces you back to nothing.
Yeah.
That they view it in a, like you say, a diametrically opposed way.
Yeah, like reincarnation is like a sick trick, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And so all of this stuff means that, like, she's heard this address from Vesna. You're in a foreign country.
You're a scholar. You're here on an exchange trip for a year. Yeah,
and you go and you hear a very charismatic, brand new leader who is ultimately powerful and will be powerful for however long.
Yeah.
And their address suggests that the only way of living is through this one way of thinking about the world and the religion. And so if yours is completely the opposite, then you're in danger.
Yeah.
You're like, this is a smart person. She's got the shield of vigilance with her. And she's not going to kid herself about this kind of stuff.
No. This is someone who has probably studied history and has seen charismatic, powerful people take the helm of a nation before and deliver an address which, while it appears on the face of it unifying, is actually, on an international level, exclusionary.
Yeah.
If you are saying that our religion is the one true religion, which it is, what you are doing is you are putting yourself at the very beginning stages of this almost like religious fascism, almost of this, well, what are you going to do as a separate international power to change to our religion and be correct? And as a scholar that has for sure studied history, is on this exchange year, is kind of, I think you're right in saying, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
We are, give it another 2 summits and we could be at war. I have no idea what direction we're going to go in.
Yeah.
I think this is backed up by a couple of things. It's backed up because a few other Aksu visitors have also quit.
Yes, around a very similar time, and so that might suggest that maybe she's reached out to them or something like that.
Either she's reached out, or a few other people from Aksu have, a few of the Aksu
just
visitors
understand the same thing.
Get the same vibe.
Yeah.
And then this phrase, I've neglected vigilance in the name of understanding.
Yeah.
What that means is that she's come here, she wants to understand, and in trying to absorb the culture and understand as much as possible, she has neglected vigilance for her own safety. So in that realisation, hearing Emperor Vesna's address, realising that she's not safe, and arguably she's right.
Very much so. I think it's a smart move, and I think it doesn't matter how neutral people will try and be. If you're a powerful person like the Emperor, something as neutral sounding as we all need to be united and
under our religion.
Under our religion, and I think everyone should see the world the way that we do. Something like that might seem so innocent, but in context of everything else, it's creating an in-group. It's creating this particular group of people that are,
it's us and them.
Superior. That kind of
them.
So
I think this is I don't know if this was the intention last time, because I think Theodicea only started to visit the Empire very recently.
Yeah.
Maybe even just last summit.
Autumn last year,
so 2 summits ago.
Mm-hmm.
So not even the intention of Theodicea here to do this kind of in an out-of-character plot sense. Theodicea didn't exist to make this point, because Theodicea was in the Empire before we had an emperor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is such a beautifully elegant way of saying there are global powers in the world, and you are starting to look like a threat to them because of how punchy your leader is looking, because of how and you know, as citizens, there's nothing wrong with that. We're being proud about our religion, and our religion is correct. But that's us, and they're them.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
And if that is the route we're taking, we really do have to be united.
Yeah.
We really do have to be able to be self-sufficient within our whole
Because
empire.
it takes another step. That's what other people are hearing about us inside the empire. We might be a little more divided than that.
Yes.
And that's not a great... If we're internally divided and we externally look like we're a massive threat, we've got the worst of both worlds.
So it's very interesting to think that we're alienating like foreign countries potentially with that address.
Whether or not we need some sort of statement saying that we're not, because no solution to this is, because that's why I think it's elegant, because it's not obvious what's going on here. I think taking another step further, maybe we need to be a little bit more clear. Maybe the priests of the empire need to be a little bit more clear as to what our position is on international followers of the way that follow a different system of belief.
And it's that they should all turn to our system of belief, because it's the way.
Well, this is my question. That seems to be Emperor Vesna's position.
Yeah.
But what's the Synod's position? They are not necessarily one and the same.
I don't know. It feels kind of like...
Now I want to raise a motion.
It feels pretty heretical to be saying other religions are okay. It's like... We're in a theocracy, my dude.
Yeah, that's true. We are in a theocracy.
I will argue that.
Yeah, we're in a theocracy. I feel like I might raise a motion on this and you're going to vote against it.
I will canvass against it. No, not just vote against it.
Either side of the same thing. We're going to divide the religion politics into.
It gets a role play being self-righteous, you know. Like, I got to get my kick somewhere.
So that's pretty much the end of all of those little kind of bits of role play all throughout. So then there's this other wind, and I can't remember, or I've already forgotten what it's about.
In the source.
I'm lost in the source. What's Memento Mori about?
Memento Mori is about the Schlatter of Rot, or the Deadwood Knight.
Yes.
Which is this sort of undead knight roaming Dawn and Varushka, and this came up in the last winds. Some very spooky stories from that one.
Very spooky.
And it was like gathering people by the sounds of it in a little undead group, and that undead group is getting bigger and then marauding now.
The one I do remember this from last time actually, because we had this I remember Schlatter of Rot. I don't remember Greywood Night.
Deadwood Night.
See, I don't remember it. Schlatter of Rot was actually just an annual problem. The Schlatter of Rot would rise once a year, and then it would be like a fun thing to go kill it. It wouldn't actually die, and then it would come back a year later. And what happened was that last event, it came back out of turn and wouldn't go away. No one could kill it. And it, instead of going back to rest for a year, as you say, continued gathering armies of undead. Everyone it kills, it recruits. So it started killing bandits, it started killing caravans, and it started making itself more of a threat.
Yes.
And I remember now, because my understanding from this particular wind was that no one did anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone actually did, because we read it last time. I don't know if there was something to do, but...
It only seems like it's got worse, to be honest. But there is some parchment to read, some role-playing voices to do.
Yes, we didn't look at this specifically, so we get to see it for the first time with you. Right. There was a movement ahead along the road. Something fluttering. Boris jerked on the reins and brought the cart to a halt. The driver knew better than to argue and just looked scared. "What's the problem?" she asked, her voice a little unsteady and eyes wide. "Why have we stopped?" Boris pressed one finger to his lips and shook his head, stepped forward and shaded his eyes as he peered down the crossroads. A moment was a tent flap, caught in the wind. Now, he looked properly, he could see 6 tents, in the Dornish style, pegged out in the clearing where the road split in 3. He took another few steps closer, drawing his axe from his belt and unshouldering his shield. He heard mutters and whispers behind him as the news something was wrong spread quickly through the rest of the band and to the 3 other wagons. The tents had seen better days. They were battered, ragged, marked with water and mud, much like they will be at this summit.
Much like our tent. Our tent's nice and clean.
It's had some. But no true Dornish knight would be seen dead in such a thing, thought Boris, and immediately regretted it. Garina and Valak moved up beside him, stopping a pace behind. Boris knew the rest of their band of sellswords would be taking up defensive positions around the wagons, scouring the trees for threats.
Oh, that's wise, looking out for like an ambush or something.
Yeah. "What is it?" asked Garina. They were whispering out of habit. "Trouble," said Boris shortly. He glanced back at the caravans and knew they wouldn't be able to make a safe campsite by nightfall if they turned back. Time to put his faith in the road, and his trust in his heavy, notch-bladed axe. As the trio drew cautiously closer, a figure stepped out of the largest tent, armoured from head to foot in Varushkan bands rather than Dornish plates. It stood silently for a long moment, and then raised an arm with a crepitous, crackling, popping noise. It let out a low, moaning groan, and with a stuttering motion drew its sword. Boris and his companions were veterans of the roads. They knew better than to focus all their attention on the figure ahead. This was a trap. The tents and the lone knight intended to keep their eyes one way while... Yes, there they were, moving with surprising speed through the trees, a dozen or more half-seen figures kept keeping to the growing shadows, flanking the caravan. Garina drew her bow and put an arrow in the figure ahead, expertly targeting the gap between the thigh and groin. The creature went down without making a sound. Behind them, the echoing noises of bows and Revenak's crossbow being loosed. The second figure emerged from the tent, stepping over the prone Schlatter. Boris swore under his own breath. There was no mere wolf, but something else. Something bad. It wore ancient-looking armour, a style that was old when his grandfather had served as the Malinov Boyar. And it had an axe and a shield, just like he did, but blackened and notched and stained with old blood. Garina loosed another arrow, but the creature knocked it aside with its shield, almost contemptuously.
Get out of here.
Behind it, from out the tent, a heavy, dark mist began to flow like water, eddying around its armoured ankles and spilling out onto the road. A thing took a step forward, then another. Its eyes blazed with unnatural lights as it stopped at the very edge of the iron road. It looked down. "That's right," shouted Volak, his voice shaking in a way that made his bravado sound especially horror. "We're on the road, and you can fuck back off to whatever hole you crawled out of." Boris elbowed the new recruit hard in his metal-wrapped ribs, glanced quickly around. There were maybe 20 of them now, beginning to emerge from the trees. Some Varushkan, some Dornish, some in battered armour, others still torn and bloody clothes they had been wearing when they died. Their eyes gleamed in the gathering twilight. "No," said the armoured figure ahead of them, his voice causing all the hair on Boris's neck and shoulders to stand up. "No, I don't think you will. I don't think I will, even." Well,
I think I will.
I think I will.
Or you will.
And with that, it stepped onto the road, and the ground fog surged forward around it, and with terrible moans and groans, the warband of unliving rushed down the caravan, and Boris raised his axe for the fight of his life.
Yes, so this is, because we read a little bit of this, this is representative of the fact that the situation has gotten worse. This knight, this Schlatovrot,
yes,
is now breaking certain rules, certain protections that we thought we had, basically.
Yeah.
I think the idea in Varushka is that as long as you stick to the path, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Which is why that sellsword was saying, fuck you, we're on the path, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, I don't think I am going to stick to staying off the path, and stepped onto it and became a threat. The idea is that these wards that protect, I think it's probably Varushkan hearth magic or something.
Yeah, I think there's runes, and they're like literally placed like so regularly as they're building roads, and that's what protects them. But
I didn't know that.
This thing doesn't.
It doesn't seem to play, so it's broken through the wards in some places and is killing more people. And again, every person it kills, it gets stronger as a whole.
Yeah.
The army gets bigger.
It seems very powerful and intelligent for something like that. So, we've got the overview. Yeah, okay, cool.
That's fine.
So
part of it, part of the big problem is that we basically don't know how to deal with this thing. The idea is that we have always known how to quell it for a short period of time, but never actually beat it. So now we actually need a solution.
Yeah.
And I think there are a number of things raised to kind of get us going.
Yep.
One is that you can do some historical research. I think the idea is that the answer to potentially beating this threat, because it is so old and so historic, means that you probably want to instruct someone who is really good at just looking at like past documents, historical research, and they might be able to find an answer, even if it's in folklore somewhere, you know, like a fairy tale or something with this creature.
Or some comparable creature or another,
A lot of this is the fact that this is a Dornish and Varushkan problem.
Yeah.
It is this creature roaming the lands between Dorne and Varushka and taking people indiscriminately.
Yeah.
I think when I was originally talking about it to you, I said that this situation reminds me quite a lot of the Dry Patricians, because no one seems to have done anything about it.
Yeah, the undead.
Yeah, no one cares about the undead. See, we circled back to that thing we said at the start. No one cares about the undead. With the Dry Patricians, it got to the stage where an entire territory, the Great Green Grasslands, were lost because no one did anything to stop the spread of the blight. And I think only now people are sort of taking an interest. This is now sort of in its second stage. We had like a marauding undead. No one's done anything. Now we have a marauding undead with an army.
Yes.
And it's just going to get worse.
And it's really hard to track. They're hard to find. They seem to sort of go from place to place, and we don't know how. And we can either wait until they get so big they can't move stealthily, but then there is an army of thousands of undead to defeat. So we need to try and get them now.
The idea is find a weakness now and beat them while they're small, or you can let them grow till they're massive and it becomes something an army has to fight. Which doesn't sound very appealing. But unless you've got any other compelling pieces of wisdom as to how you might deal with this threat, the only answer right now is maybe look at some historical research.
There's also something mentioned that there was a village in Wickmore. What was it called? Sorry, Woodbury and Wickmore. They went to this village and killed 150 yo folk. They just went through and slaughtered this whole village, and either did that or they drew them out to take refuge in noble houses and things. So they are a scary force that can just sort of roll in, sort of come out of the blue, roll in, kill so many people, take them into their army, and sort of roll on this kind of snowball effect.
Just getting bigger and bigger. Roads and crowns. This bit was, we sort of talked about it already. You said kind of regular wards are placed on the Varushkan roads to keep them safe, and this thing and its forces appear to be able to break through those wards and kill anything that's on the roads, which, if you're Varushkan, should probably be terrifying.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing that keeps you safe when you're travelling. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's gone is so bad.
It's a huge part of the culture, isn't it? That the roads provide such protection, and that's like your one kind of safe place. It's a place of like empowerment.
Yeah. There's one kind of creepy thing that keeps on happening, which is that the Schlatter of Rot will conquer an area, will, run over a village, kill all the people, but it kind of seems to always leave one person alive. And that one person always carries the same message back to civilization, which is, give me the crown, and I swear by my heart and sword that I will build my domain in Dawn and leave Varushka to other powers.
Which is very, like, suspicious. It says, give me the crown, and is that about the Emperor?
Does it mean give me the Emperor? Does it mean give me the artifact that is the crown?
Does it want to be, like, the king or queen of, like, Dawn itself?
Yeah. I'm like, what does it get from having this? Why is it important that it gets the crown so much so that it will then leave Varushka and go to Dawn? I don't think that's something that anyone wants, but it's a little hint towards the Schlatter of Rot's kind of, not intentions, motivations.
And maybe the history as well, looking into the history might actually help us pin down who this knight once was.
Yeah.
That would be very cool, because what's their motivation? Why do they want the crown? Do they want to be Emperor?
I just had a moment in my head.
Yeah.
The Schlatter of Rot became a problem last summit, right? Last summit, the Schlatter of Rot became... Yeah, you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Schlatter of Rot became a problem because that was when it didn't settle and it started to raise armies and maraud. That was also the same summit that we got an emperor that was Varushkan.
Yeah, and there's only ever been one other Varushkan emperor before, so yeah.
Maybe it's worth looking at the link there between this particular entity and the crown and Varushka. I wonder whether Dawn is affected just because of geography. But there appears to be a little in the tourney of Ash and Bone. I thought this was super interesting as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, how much did you read of the tourney?
You told me more about it, I think, than I took on. So
the idea was that there was this tournament held by a smaller or less well-known house in Dawn.
House
Seaken. And the tourney, I don't think, was very well attended. It was at a poor time of the year and it was very far away from like anywhere that was convenient. However, it was still a tourney and plenty of people went. Also, turning up at the event were a group of knights that didn't speak, didn't identify themselves, and were incredibly violent.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? Because they're black knights, and this is a part of the
Dornish
thing,
part of Dornish culture,
where sort of black knights are kind of because their like houses are so important to them. A black knight is someone that covers up anything that identifies them, and they can then make like a sorry, I've lost my place there. These sorry, what were we talking about?
It was
the Black Knights, there we go. So in things like the sort of Festival of the Dead, they will act as like someone for the representative of the dead person to fight, to have their honour. So they can become these like neutral parties, but these Black Knights are turning up and then being really vicious.
Really, really vicious.
Yeah.
They're injuring people, they're maiming people. I will say, and this is important, they're not technically doing anything wrong. They are an attorney. You are allowed to maim what is frowned on, but it's not illegal, as it were. It's still within the rules of the tourney. So while people are like, that wasn't very cool, the tourney continues. Then there is to finish off the tourney, there is a grand melee in which everyone competes. These Black Knights reveal themselves to be the Schlatter of Rot and its emissaries and representatives, and they slaughter everyone in the tournament and take a bunch of powerful knights into their army. And this is pretty bad. There is an element of the Dornish people should really care about this now.
Yep.
Because there is a lot of glory to be sought in avenging these people.
Yeah.
But the thing that I found really interesting is where the Varushkans sort of weighed in on the matter, and they said, actually, by the laws of hospitality, by the rules that this particular host of the tournament extended to them, they didn't actually do anything wrong. Because the rules of hospitality, as we kind of covered earlier with those doppelgangers, are very, very important. The rules of hospitality under Varushkan half magic are that if you offer someone hospitality, be it a person or be it a monstrosity, if they accept, if they say yes, if they break bread with you, if they drink with you, then they are welcomed in and they can't do you any harm. So hospitality is a very important thing. You should always accept hospitality in Varushka.
Yeah.
But playing by those same rules, they did sign up to the rules of hospitality at this grand tournament. There's just a lot of killing at a tournament, potentially. There's a lot of fighting, the rules aren't as clear, and there appears to be some way that the Schlatter Rot was bound by these rules because it didn't kill any spectators. It didn't kill any innocent bystanders. It stuck to killing people in the melee and then moved on. So there is some interaction between this entity and hospitality.
Potentially, yeah. And I think it's sort of turning up, doing that, going away, gathering up some very, like, I guess, like, all the powerful fighters in that area. And I feel like having... It makes me question, like, the vigilance, I guess, behind things like these open, like, tourneys and things like that. Because if we are willingly, like, fighting and stuff to show our honour, where is our vigilance? Our... no. Where's our vigilance? Where's our, like, self-preservation in a sense?
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm sure Dornish people would, like, strongly disagree with what I'm saying, but, like, it's an interesting cultural point to raise, where it's like, well, they played the game, you know? That's the Varushkans' point of view, because they dance with devils, you know? They'll talk to anyone if they enter into sort of the same game. And so it's like, well, this is the game that you have.
I think that's a great point. I'm not surprised that you as a bishop are making that kind of religious cultural point.
Yes.
Is it vigilant to be having a grand tournament? Really? Is it wise, given the infiltrators into the tournament? Is it wise, is it vigilant to have Black Knights?
They can just
people who disguise themselves entirely and then may, if they are someone with poor intentions, may maim or slaughter people.
And I guess not have them questioned during the tourney as well. They sort of got all the way through to the end.
Not very vigilant at all.
Yeah, even if they presented like bad form.
Yes.
Not in the spirit of the game.
I was going to say that will mean that they move through the labyrinth slower, but they have been raised into an army of the undead, so maybe not.
Yeah. Okay, so what have we got here? Participation.
So these are kind of like role-play notes for people who might have been there.
Oh, interesting. So you can request a traumatic wound card. Interesting. Ruined kneecap, fractured arm, lingering wounds.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The idea is, of course, that these things did happen in character, and you might have been there if you were. I think it says if you were taking adventure in Varushka, if you think you would have been at the tournament, you're still alive. Obviously, you're still going. You're not here. You're not in the army of the undead because you're here. But you might have suffered a wound. You might have. Might just have terrible emotional damage. You might want to talk about what's happened.
Yeah.
You might want to use that as an onus in character to try and solve this problem. You know, your character is interested in fighting the Schlatter of Rot because you've seen firsthand what it can do.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So, it says also there is a trick to killing this, but so we can't like exercise any of them or anything like that. There's no like straightforward routes to. It's just I think it's maybe just like reaffirming that like there's no straightforward routes. Yeah. Just like killing these guys. So you maybe you're not allowed to be like we've personally like fought with him or whatever.
Yeah.
He's very like remorseless.
There is a trick to killing him, but it's not been discovered as well. So what that enables you to do from like a roleplay perspective is discount exorcism, ritual magic, burning, dismemberment, discard all of those as possibilities. You are looking for something far more esoteric.
Yeah. Interesting. And I think from here on, they have... Well, actually... Sorry, I'm looking at this bit of the side. Yeah. I wonder whether it's worth reading through.
Just having a quick scan.
Nightonschlachter.
Quality of treatment.
It's about, like, the difference between, like... It existing in both the cultures of Dawn and, like, Varushka. I just thought...
Oh, that's why it has two names. It's Deadwood Night to Dawn and Schlatter of Rot. I didn't know that.
It's the two things. Yeah, so they both have kind of like truth. It's interesting. I just saw something about like the Briar lineage. Stories say they either have Briar lineage or they've been horribly transformed to take on the qualities of the trees where they hunt.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting idea of like associating them with briars. If you want to be...
That's interesting, yeah.
If you want to be racist to briars, add that to your arsenal.
List. I think what that also does is drive the point home, and it comes up in Tales and Poems a little bit, drive the point home that the answer might lie either in historical research or in certain fairy tales or poems or stories relating to either Dornish culture or Varushkan culture.
Yeah.
It's not the first time it's ever existed. What did people used to say about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, Tales and Poems. So we have a group of wise ones who are visiting Varushka about 8 p.m. on Friday evening. So that's very interesting. I wonder if that's telling stories or something like that.
You're passing on ancient wisdom.
Great.
Perhaps. Definitely worth asking those wise ones about the Schlatter of Rot if they don't volunteer that information readily.
And then we've got a party of troubadours, which is Dawn's like priest performers on their way to Anvil, arriving around 2 p.m. on Saturday. So maybe they have some stories to tell as well, because they're always travelling with stories. Very interesting. I would like to hear those and see if they have any interesting stories about that. But if you are...
Troubadour, they say the troubadours are a contentious bunch who disagree with each other on almost everything. So...
Sounds about right.
I'm imagining this group of wise ones arrives at Varushka on Friday evening, and they have these kind of whispers and strands of fate and kind of like subversive, scary elements of deep Varushkan storytelling and all weave a tapestry of something unconquerable and greatly feared.
Yes.
And then the Dornish troubadours arrive at 2 p.m. on Saturday and they're all like, no, he has a great sword. It's like, no, he has a great axe. And it's all just useless information.
Just like squabbling changelings, locking horns.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like...
He was 8 foot tall. No, he was 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
And it's like, just completely...
It's like, okay, where's the actual information in this? We need to...
Which one is the piece of information that we need here?
Yeah. I think it could be interesting.
I can imagine them being like, we can all agree on one thing. The Schlatter of Rot is terrifying. Well, I wouldn't say he was that terrifying. Yeah. Yeah,
I think there could be some very cool stuff there for people interested in that, I guess.
And then this is actually the last bit. It's a series of conjunctions.
I see.
So the idea is that the Schlatter of Rot has enough of an army to begin sending out armies to various places. And we have identified, I think, 3 conjunctions where we might be able to intercept those armies and kill them. And the idea is that if any of these armies go unkilled during these conjunctions, then the Schlatter of Rot's overall army will continue to get bigger, of course.
Yeah.
One thing that I actually thought of, I knew that at the end of this there was going to be a series of conjunctions that are basically skirmishes to allow you to go out and kill parts of the Deadwood Knights army. I realised that there might have been a little peek into the tactics of what they do in the roleplay at the beginning. We had them being very, very clever and trying to use, one or two of them as a distraction while others went through the trees and ambushed. I'm just saying, if you go on these skirmishes, watch out for the trees. They might be running through there and trying to flank you.
I imagine some terrifying knights with glowing eyes peeking out from their helmets and stuff.
I've got this image of a fully plated knight, and they just have brambles growing out of their eyes and curling around their armour and stuff like that.
Ooh, I love it. There also is something interesting here that says Reynard Forrester put out a statement of principle in the winter solstice, which called for Dornish adventurers to take up and fight with courage and end the husk menace. But it failed to get a greater majority. So this person, Reynard Forrester, did try and call attention to this and get people to fight.
Reynard Forrester, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, good job. But it just didn't
catch.
People weren't interested enough, didn't know enough about it, and so
Reynard Forrester, you're doing a bad job.
No. Then more people just needed to know. Reynard Forrester probably needed to
I'm glad someone did something.
Yeah. And so let's see. Ekaterina de Castillon is a troubadour that heard about it, and I think has also helped spread that word as well. So that's good that there's some pickup on this.
Yeah, there seems to be some sort of reward, I think. If you scroll up a little bit, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Is it golden apples or something like that?
Golden apple, yes. So, so if there is a statement of principle, and it receives a greater majority, then the Castillon family will offer a golden apple from their magical orchards to such a brave Dornish soul who would do that. She will hopefully use a judgment of rewarding to help those people who are fighting these.
Actually, this sentence here, I think, is an important one.
Yes.
To show the gratitude to the nation of those prepared to put aside the siren call of tourney and banquet to fight abominable cadaver knights. So actually, I feel like I retract my previous point. I'm starting to understand the struggle of Reynard Forrester because I'm imagining you have this horrific problem with all of these zombie knights wandering around, and you stand up and say this is a huge problem, and everyone else stands up and says, "I'm booked in for a tourney." Actually, for my honour, I've got to go to a melee, and I'm like, God, it must have been terrible to have stood up and been like, there's a threat to the realm, and for so many people
we've got to band together, and Dawn are like, we don't do that.
We don't do that here. We've got other stuff to do.
So so that we've now got a bunch of conjunctions.
Yeah, so I just want to capstone that and say the idea is Dawn need to get on the same page on this because they achieved a lesser majority but not a greater majority. So a little bit strung out. It's not really sure if this is something they care about. And they probably should care about it. Definitely. So if a firm greater majority statement of principle comes through, they'll be set on the path to tackle this problem.
So it's actually really important that there are a bunch of Dornish troubadours that come together on this. Okay, so on to the conjunctions.
Yes, so these are the ones I just mentioned where the roaming armies, you can go out and stop them.
Cool, so we've got the first one, rumours, in Karov. So the festering warden is leading a ward band targeting the traders on the Westwood Road in Karov. No time yet. This is a skirmish. The
overseer of the Westwood Road is responsible. I don't know if we need to go into too much detail about these skirmishes.
Yeah.
I think that they are... they will each be slightly different in their own way. The idea is that if you are interested in fighting against this threat, have a quick read through them and see which ones appeal to you more. But broadly, from my point of view, there are up to three skirmishes you can go on if you want to fight against this threat.
So that could be interesting. Let's see. The sphere, if the Festering Warden is not defeated, then the sphere will reduce the amount of green iron, orichalcum, welt silver, and the blade root that the Overseer will... So it's a ministry's being threatened.
And going to be penalised if it doesn't rebut this offence.
So the Overseer of the Westward Road needs to defend that and encourage people to go on their skirmish. We've got With the Dawn in Weirwater. And let's see... we've got, at the moment, Liege Roland's call for the house to retreat into the mists again is being treated as an understandably extreme reaction as someone who's been seriously hurt. Alright, the mist raids again. I'm just trying to pick out if there's anything very specific.
It looks like a bunch of remote houses in Weirwater have been targeted, and someone has said, let's retreat into the mists instead of defend them. So the Castellan of the Spiral Castle has instead got to step up and defend the territory in place of that liege, which is like, I'll just hide away for a bit.
Interesting. So Mortarion Carver is the person who is responsible for this skirmish. Yeah. And then we've got Sharp Lessons in Karov, which is Karov again.
Karov, not looking good in Karov.
The Iron Boyar is... So the Boyar of the Iron Roads, Boris Vardovich Straskovich, who is the person mentioned, I think, in the yellow text.
Yes.
Boris. Or I guess maybe it was like a hint towards this guy, and not actually him, but because he has a character.
This one looks particularly bad, actually.
Yeah.
If it's not stopped, not only does the army expand, there's an assault on a village. If the assault will probably be repulsed, but a significant amount of things will be disrupted. Weirwood will increase, the cost purchase of Weirwood is going to increase by the Harbour Master of the Semilak, and a number of benefits are cancelled out in relation to the Iron Roads. So this seems to move closer towards kind of like an economic crossroads that has like a ripple effect on all the surrounding areas.
Interesting. So there's lots of, I guess, quite like high risk, high reward. Well, not high reward, but like they need like a lot of protection.
Yeah, I would say it's not just go repulse the army. It is go repulse the army, or something very, very, very bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
And obviously, the worse it might be, the more people it's going to affect. So the more people are going to say, well, I'm interested in stopping this from happening.
Yeah.
So making it bigger makes it easier to get support.
Interesting. So, yeah, I think that's the end of that.
Yeah.
That wins. I'm just going to double check and see if there's any
new ones.
We'll see what's here. It doesn't seem to be.
No, we're up to speed.
Looks like we're up to speed for now. But yeah, okay, great. So if there are any more, we will be back. We seem to be doing streams at around like 9 p.m. So if you do see something, to be honest, it probably will be like on the day of the thing coming up because we've got 3 more days and then we're off.
Yeah, as I understand it, they've moved the servers to site now.
Yeah, so maybe
there might be more. There might not. I don't know. I just don't know. We don't know. But we will be doing them as and when they come out to stay as up to date as possible.
Until Thursday.
So we might do them on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yes.
We will not do them on Thursday because we will be in the field.
We'll be there. So I'm not going to stream from a field.
Not going to stream from a field
because
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, come talk to us. I don't know.
I'll be honest. I can't even get a mobile signal in the field sometimes.
Sometimes.
So who knows how streaming would work?
So it seems like that's the wins for now.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, wins up to date.
Lots of opportunities.
Lots of things to dig
board.
into. Lots of kind of religious stuff and kind of international politics stuff coming up as well. So I'm excited about that. But I think we'll leave it there for now. And we will see you either for the next set of wins that's released for E2 or we'll see you after ET or at E2 maybe.
And
we'll see you after it for the next set of Winds of Fortune as and when they're released.
Super exciting.
Very.
Alright, so we will see you when we see you.
Yeah, see you next time.
And remember, he who laughs,
LARPs, laughs last. Yeah.
Always remember that.
Great.